Additional aids and services are available to individuals with disabilities. To make such a request, please contact us by email by clicking the Help tab in the PD portal or at pdportal@tamu.edu, by phone including Relay Texas at 1-800-441-7323, or in writing to Train PD, PD Portal Support, 4477 TAMU, College Station, Texas 77843. Both a transcript and accessible document of the content presented in this webinar can be found as resources in the course description. Click on the blue links under Course Resources in the description. When a link is clicked, a new browser window will open.
Our presenter today is Bea Capozano, and she has multiple jobs and multiple roles, which we'll learn a little bit more about here in a minute. I would like to welcome Bea Capozano. Bea has 5 years of dedicated experience as a high school equivalency instructor at Community Action of Central Texas. Bea's journey in education took a pivotal turn when the onset of COVID-19 pandemic necessitated a shift to remote teaching, a transition she adeptly navigated and continues to excel in. Alongside her teaching role, Bea has been instrumental in providing technical support at the Texas AEL Distance Education Call Center, showcasing her versatility and commitment to facilitating effective learning environments. Known for her passion for technology, Bea derives immense satisfaction from guiding others in overcoming their technological fears, ultimately enhancing their teaching experience. Her goal is to continually inspire colleagues and learners alike. And boy, she's already inspired me. So Bea, welcome and take it away.
Let's get started with Remind. So keeping your students in the know with Remind. By the end of this lesson, we want you to be able to understand the components and features of Remind. And what is Remind? So what tools do you currently use to communicate with your students? So why did I ask this? Because I wanted to know if anybody already knew about Remind, and also to get a feel for what people are already using. So Remind is a great platform. I am not paid by Remind, but I love it. I've been using it for 13 years or more, back before they changed their name to Remind. They used to be Remind 101. It's a great tool. It allows you to communicate through text on any device with students or clients. Most of us are in education, so teachers, other teachers, your supervisor, your team, and it's private. It's great. It keeps your information private and it keeps the other person's information private. So just as a little reminder, it is always best practice to use your district device or your company device to communicate with clients, whether it's another teacher, another student. We want to keep all that communication on program devices because that information can be looked at later, and if it's on a personal device, it creates issues. Remember, we do have to comply with personal identifiable information laws and regulations, and so Remind does comply with that. So how comfortable are you with Remind? So the idea here is if you're not very comfortable, we want to get you all the way over to at least comfortable getting by. My hope is that you will learn a lot of things today that you can put into practice. So let's get to it. So we're going to create a class. I am going to switch over to the Remind website, and for the rest of the training, I'll show you on the Remind website, and then I'll come back and we'll review on the slides. The Remind website looks like this, and I will move to it in just a sec. If you don't already have an account, it's going to ask you, do you want to merge your accounts? So if you already have an account, if you have children that attend school, if you're part of another club that uses Remind, and you're using that same phone number, you can put your accounts together so that your messages can be separate. So maybe my workout team is one, and my son's school is another one, and then my GED class is another class. So they're separate classes, and one I am a parent, and one I am a teacher, and another one I might be a student. So it's really nice, but you don't have to merge your accounts. You can, but you don't have to. Okay, so when you're creating an account, if you see this, feel free to merge or not. The choice is yours. Then you will be asked to name your class. Just as a disclaimer, if you are on your phone, your screen might look a little different than this. The functionality is the same though. The icons on the top left are squished a little more. And if you're already in Remind, you might already have a home page with your class list already there. So if you are on a computer, my favorite way to create a class or add students is going to be on a computer. It could be a desktop, a laptop, it doesn't matter as long as it's a computer. It's just easier, it's bigger, you're manipulating a lot of data, and it's nicer. You can do it on a phone, but the screen is much smaller. It's harder to copy and paste and do things like this. If you're a brand new user, you would say add a class, and then you are a teacher, so you would create, or maybe a program lead, create new class. So you click right there.
B, quick question before we
Yes.
move on. Is there a verifying code needed for setting up an account?
You will get a verifying code in your email, the email or your phone that you're connecting. You should get a code. So naming a class. Please ask your program for naming guidelines. I know Community Action has the name of the class and then the days and possibly your name. So different programs have different guidelines for naming your class, especially if you're using a paid Remind account that was given to you. If this is just you using it because you want to, that's great. We want you to do that. And you can name your class whatever you want. But if you're connected to a program, you're doing this for a program, check with them for the guidelines. You can call this test. So this class code right here that I've highlighted in blue, it can actually be changed, but you need to be careful because some of them have already been used. So for me, I like to use my last name, and I usually shorten it to Camp because my last name is so long. And then I put a date. So like maybe this is my 2024, or maybe this is my HSE class. And then it asks you if you're affiliated with a school or not. It just depends on whether you're with a program or not. So my handle, my class code wasn't taken, so it went ahead and created my class. So here we are. Make sure that you talk to your program just to see if they have naming guidelines or not. This is how you would create a class. If you are in the app, if you're using your phone, you might have seen something like this. So above, there are 3 lines on the top left-hand side, and you would click there, and that's where you create a class. Same steps, it just looks a little different. Any questions about creating a class?
She's trying to download the app from the Apple Store and it isn't loading internet maybe, and I don't see a class code. Any suggestions for that?
So the class code, you're going to create your own class code, or it's automatically generated. So if you don't want to take the time to create a class code, it generates it for you, which is fantastic. If it's not loading, then yes, I would guess it's probably an internet connectivity issue. And if you call the call center, they really will help you with that part. We are creating a class. So we're looking at this from the lens of a teacher or somebody that's leading a program, not as a student or a participant. Any other questions?
She said, I started a test class on my phone and just didn't see where a code would be generated.
Then it did it for you. That's another reason why I like to use the computer more than my phone when I'm creating classes or adding students, which is what we're going to do next, is because it seems to have less glitches on the computer. Okay, we're going to add students. So now we've created a class. There are 4 ways to add students. You can add them using their phone number, using their email. If you teach in person, you can print a nice PDF. It comes in different languages. You can share instructions on a screen. Again, if you're in person or if you're online, you can share a screen and show them, or you can share a link. So we're going to move back. So we were talking about adding students. So again, I would Highly recommend you do this on your computer. You can try to follow along on your phone if you have to. So you would add people. It says up here, add people on the top right-hand corner. And we're gonna go through these in order here. So one of my favorite ways to do this is through this spreadsheet. So I've created a practice spreadsheet, and this is in Google Slides. You want your spreadsheet to match the titles that are on the Remind page. So first name, last name is not required, but I always put it in there. Phone number or email, secondary phone number or email. And then this is fantastic language code for my ESL colleagues here. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. You preset all of that in your spreadsheet, and then all you have to do is copy, and then you drop it in, you paste. You tell it whether they're students or parents or teachers, and then you paste your information. And notice this is a bogus phone number I made up, and it's telling me, hey, this phone number is invalid. If I enter an invalid email, it will also tell me that the email is invalid. So it's great because sometimes students fill out information more and more online now, and there could be typos, or when we do data entry, we could put in some typos in there. And so this is a great check to make sure that all the information is correct. This is also a great opportunity for you to put any nicknames that any student might go by, or if you have 2 or 3 Bettys in your class, then you could add that information in here. And then you say add people down here. It's not going to highlight because this isn't real information. But then if I had 15 of my students, then I could just say add, put them all in there at one time. So that's great. For people, I thought I read that there were program leads here. You can call them all teachers and then just paste your information in there. And it works the same way. So let's talk about this primary and secondary information for a second. I don't know about you, but my students will often ignore my text or my email because they have jobs, because they have kids and all the things that students in adult ed have to face. And so I like to first send them a text, and then I send them a follow-up email because there is a waiting period. Remind doesn't allow you to pester people every 30 seconds, okay? They're going to send it today, and then maybe you can send it later. Within 48 hours, you can send it again. But if you send a text first, then you can send an email. So whichever one you choose, or you can send an email first, and then you can send a text. So that's your primary, secondary. You have 2 ways to contact this person that you're trying to connect within the same day if you needed to. Because sometimes that's important at orientation, things like that. When I taught in person, I often would hand this out when we did orientation. They have a few languages here that you can print this PDF in, and then you just download it and print it and hand it to them. I usually had to sit with my students to do this. Typically, they have a little bit of difficulty trying to download apps and trying to add a code. It can be a little complicated to do all of that. This is another one of my favorites. So this has to be my second favorite. You can show this online if you teach online or in person, and just say, okay, this is what it's going to look like. This is what your phone looks like. I'm going to point right here. This is the number. That is the phone number that anybody texts, whether they're texting you or they're texting me. That's going to be the number. And then this is the class code. Somebody asked about how do you get that class code? This is the class code. And the reason why I create my own class code is because this makes sense to my students. I tell them ahead of time, I'm going to send you a message. It's through this app called Remind. You don't have to download the app. This is a texting app. It's going to allow us to text back and forth. And here's the code. It's the first 4 letters of my last name and HSE, right? So it makes sense for them to send that message. So once they've done that, it's just a matter of following the prompts to get added to your class. And then the last way, this is my third favorite, I suppose. The reason why I don't love this is because when you share the link with students, because they're usually on a phone or computer, tablet, it's going to prompt them to download the app. Now, they don't have to download the app. I forgot to say this. Remind is a texting app. So what it allows you to do is to message your students back and forth through text messaging, protecting your phone number from them, right? So that they don't have your phone number, and that's fantastic. So when we use WhatsApp, they have your phone number. Other students might have each other's phone number. When we use Remind, you can have a group. This group can talk to each other without having each other's phone number. That's really fantastic. This is pretty self-explanatory. You copy the link and you can send it in an email. I put it on my syllabus along with my class code. Let's go back. Why are we doing all this? Because we are adding students, right? This is how we get students into our class. And so that when they show up, they come up here and there's a list. And if somebody hasn't joined yet, it will say pending on the date joined. And then that's how you know you have to ping your students, hey, you haven't joined my Remind. So adding students there. Any questions that we might have about adding students?
If a student drops a class, is there any way to delete them?
Yes. So let me tell you what I do. So I teach HSE, right? So GED prep. And as you know, we have students coming in about once a month, right? And they just stop coming for whatever reason. But I've had students return to me a year later, right? Or maybe a semester later. And so I leave my students in my class for a full school year. And at the end of the school year, I say, hey, I need to purge my account because you're going to start getting messages about orientation. When classes start back up, I will send the same messages to my former students' class. I will add you to my former students' class. So I have two classes. I have my current class, and then I purge that list and I move anybody that has not been attending. I move them to my former students class. You just move them over. When you go into your people list, you can move them over. You can just delete them as well. Just delete them completely if you want to. So right here, I kind of dropped a hint here, preferred languages. So for all my colleagues that teach ESL, there is a language codes list. So let me tell you, Remind translates your text messages into the 90 languages that Google translates to, at least those 90. It's a long link there, so be careful. They don't have a PDF version of this. I looked and looked and looked and I emailed them and they didn't send me one. This is the best I could do for you. But it's fantastic. So students have the opportunity to set their language code. You have the opportunity to set their language code for them. So you write in English or you write in Spanish or German, whatever language you want to write in. And then when you send it, it'll translate it for the students. We're going to look at that a little bit. So sending languages. So let's talk about making announcements here. So they're called announcements. It's just a text. You're sending a text. So this is an actual screenshot of a message that I send every time I meet with my students. About an hour before, I say, hey, class begins at 6. Here's the link. Let me know if you can't make it. And I send all the information, right? I create an announcement. I'm sure you're thinking, oh, but I have to do that every day. No, you don't. You can schedule an announcement. So it's the same way you would type your message. I wrote test up here in the writing part, and you click the little clock and then you select your time and date and you hit send. So we're going to go into Remind so that I can show you how to do that. So I'm ready to send a message. So I'm going to send a message to my students. I'm going to continue. But I'm not ready to send it now. So I'm going to say, I don't know, cookout tomorrow. I'm hoping for a cookout. So I can schedule it for whenever I want. So maybe tomorrow. And I want to remind everybody tomorrow at 11 a.m. Right? And it's set. and you just click out of it and you click schedule. Before I do that, you can select for your message to be translated. So any student that has a preset language code or any student that you selected a language code for, it'll automatically translate the message for them. This right here, Remind integrates all these apps into itself. I use Google Drive a lot. I use SurveyMonkey a lot in my class. And it's great because then you just click it, it'll open your drive, and then you can just send PDF documents, or you can send a video or a picture or anything that you might need to send your students through Remind. It's there. So that's pretty awesome too. And then you would just hit schedule. And so this is preset to be sent tomorrow at 10 a.m. So unfortunately, you do have to set these ahead of time, one at a time. You cannot set a whole bunch of them at a time. There is a paid version that has something that could work that way, but really the free version is really good and you don't need to go out and pay for that. So what I do is at the beginning of the semester, I just sit and I do about a month's worth of announcements, and then the next month I do another month's worth, and I just keep it that way because sometimes there's holidays and things and you have to cancel class. So we've scheduled announcements. Now for the fun part. So in your profile, you can set your account settings, right? Like any other account, but Remind has these awesome settings. You can change your name like everybody does. You can put in a picture like anybody does. You can just drop a picture into that circle where my avatar is. You can change your name to Miss Campuzano if that's what they call you, or B, whatever your students might call you. But this is my favorite right here, the office hours feature. The office hours feature is fantastic because it allows you to set boundaries for your students and yourself. Mine is preset, right? You can message me Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. At any other time, when they text message me, it'll say the teacher's out of office hours. You might get a delayed response, something like that. So up where your name is, you click on there, and then you go to account settings. You can drop a picture, you can just drag and drop, or you can click and search for a picture. You can change your password here. You can set a preferred language as well. Organization, all that kind of good stuff. Join a school. These notifications are also good. You can allow or you can remove devices that you want Remind to be on. If you allow too many devices, then you have dings going on all your devices. So you want to be careful with how many devices you give Remind access to, because you will be getting dinged on all those devices. If that's what you want, then that's great. But if that's not what you want, then you might want to disable those. This is my sandbox, so I don't have a phone number and I don't have a mobile app, but I do have my email. But if I didn't want my email, you just click it and disable it. It's pretty easy. So this is your app integration. And then if you need to put it on a page, message history is great. So if you ever get into a situation where you need to pull your message history for someone, then this is a great place to pull it. I don't have anything because again, this is my sandbox, but you would have it here. Okay, so archived classes. I have one class that I reuse. So it's called HSE with Miss Campuzano. And I purge that class so that I can keep reusing that title over and over, because classes cannot be deleted. And so somebody just asked about the maximum number of classes. It really depends on whether your program has a paid account or if you have the free account. And I don't know off the top of my head what the limit is for the free account. I'm really lucky that I have the paid version, so I have a bunch of classes. Be careful when you're naming your classes, and you can reuse them. These classes can be what's called archived, and so that takes them out of your profile, out of your home screen, and they can be reused, but they cannot be deleted. Another really important thing, when you create a class, you might share a class with someone, with another teacher, or maybe most often with your supervisor, your coordinator, and those people are all okay. But when you share a class with another teacher, You cannot remove them. You can remove students, you cannot remove teachers. Teachers become owners of that class as well. So be careful who you give access to. Follow your program guidelines on that one because you cannot remove teachers from your class.
I got another question, and that
Yes.
is, but you can remove students from classes,
You
regardless of
can.
how many classes you have.
You can remove students from classes. You cannot remove teachers from classes. Again, because of PII, right? Don't give access to people that don't have a need to know, is really the caution there.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a phone number set in my sandbox, it's not giving me this option, but it is under the profile. So where you put your picture. So when you go to your profile, go to notifications, once you put in a phone number here, it'll give you that option for office hours down here. And so that is a really good tool for our students that have 2 jobs, that have kids, that have quiet time, maybe really late at night, and you don't want them to message you late at night. But it's great because they can message you and you can get back to it when you're available. You can get back to your students when you're available. Just tell them, I'm not available during this time, but you can message me during this time and I'll get back to you within 24 hours or whatever your program has stipulated for you. Any questions about anything? Remind.
I am a sub. And when I was a regular teacher, then I used Reminds with a consistent, well, two consistent classes. I'm thinking that the way to offer that when I'm going to be in a longer term sub setting, which is what I've done so far for a month or so at a time, is to offer them for me to text the join invite to their phone, where I would have it then, and I would need to in order to be able to notify them. But I'm just not sure about the PII or appropriateness as a sub.
If you're using Remind, then you don't have to worry about PII. So I would caution the people that are still using WhatsApp, or if you're using your personal phone, or if you're using your personal email. Company email is good. Remind is great. WhatsApp, really, more and more programs are moving away from WhatsApp or just personal texting. It's a little hairy when you're a sub because you might not have access to all the things. It's really gonna depend on your program. Like I hate to speak for them because I'm not sure what they want you to do in that case.
You have another question. Could you please show us how to purge a class, end of the class or a semester?
Yes. So I just looked up how many free accounts can you have. So if you have how many free classes? If you have the free account, it's 10. If you're an organization, it's 150, and then you have to pay. But you don't need more than 10. So how do we purge? So it'll tell me, Remind will tell me that somebody's joined my class. And if you see up here, it tells you, hey, you have 2 pending requests. And then you approve or deny. So we're going to go ahead and approve these 2 people. Okay. And then my Remind looks like this. I called this former students. Oops. Former students. And then I don't care about the code because this is just for me. So if you look on my account now, I have former students and my current students, right? So I'm going to go to my current students and I'm going to look at my people. And I can click on them, click on your more actions, and I can remove them from this class. And I can go to my former students class and I can add people to this class. Give me a sec. There's a move. So you see right here, it says add to class. And I'm going to add them to the former class. And so now Jules is in my former class, and she's in my test playground, and I'm gonna delete her from here. Gonna move her, but I always warn them and I let them know because they can get their feelings hurt or be confused. You know, why did you remove me? And so she's here, but she's not here anymore. So you just hit the student. So you hit add a class, 3 dots, add a class, and I move this person to the class that I have listed. So first you have to create your former student's class. Then you have to add that student to the new class. And then last, you delete the student from the class where you don't want them anymore.
B, we appreciate you so very much.
We hope you enjoyed this pre-recorded webinar. After you have passed the final test with a score of 80% or greater and have received your certificate of completion, please take a few moments to complete the course evaluation. Participant feedback helps Train PD at TCAL continue to provide high-quality professional development. To leave a course feedback, please go to the completed portion of your transcript. To do this, hover over the My Learning tab and select View Your Transcript. Click on the drop-down arrow next to the word Active and select Completed. Then, click Evaluate in the drop-down menu next to the course you just completed. Please note that your feedback is greatly appreciated.